Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland Navigation Radio.
where we parade through the past of Disney parks parades.
I like it. It's a
Thanks.
tongue twister.
Yeah,
It's
it is a bit of a tongue twister. To find two stories of Disneyland or Disney parks parades that we thought would be interesting to share.
Yeah. We're doing like a couples research project.
Basically. Yes, it is very much like that. It's like I do the PowerPoint, you do the no. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's like a fun little two-part. Well, it's all gonna be one episode. But
that's what I mean. Like instead of breaking it up like we usually do.
It's a double header.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
And the parades we chose wound up being like sister parades.
Yeah, you chose a nighttime parade, didn't you?
Yeah, did you not choose a nighttime parade?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
I also did. So yeah, we both did nighttime parades, which is fun.
Okay.
We've got like a nighttime theme here.
Yeah.
Cool.
But they're sisters for another reason, right? Did you not come across that?
Oh, because of what they replaced?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, they both were a replacement for the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah. We're not actually covering the Main Street Electrical Parade. That'll have to be a future episode.
Yeah, that's another one.
But I think most people are familiar with it. It's one of the most recognizable.
Sure, because it was like past, and then it came back, and then it came back, and then it moved, and then it,
And its original run even just lasted so long.
Yeah.
That a lot of people were exposed to it. So yeah, if you're a fan of the Main Street Electrical Parade and you've ever wondered about what replaced it or why it went away in its parks, then hey, we've got some answers for you today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we dive into this, actually, I did want to let everybody know that if you're listening on a podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, first of all, thanks for listening. And second of all, it would mean a lot to us if you would subscribe or leave a review if you've enjoyed the episode. Or if you're on the visual version of the podcast on YouTube, on the Neverland Navigation Co. YouTube channel, then thanks for watching along. And it would be awesome if you would like the video as well.
Yes, and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, come see when we upload new things.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about taking a Disney vacation or a cruise vacation, please send me an email at neverlandnavigationco@gmail.com because I am a free-to-you travel agent. I can get you the same deal that you'd be able to get online or better. I monitor for a better deal as you're waiting for your vacation to arrive. I'm constantly looking to make sure you've got the best deal that there is. I can help if you want with like dining, answering questions with my Disney expertise.
Yes.
I don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah. But the option's on the table.
Yeah, and it's free to you. The commission comes from the company. So, and they're charging you the price they're charging you, whether they're paying a travel agent or not.
Right.
So it's like just money on the table, basically.
Absolutely.
I don't think people know.
Yeah, and a Disney World vacation now is kind of complicated.
Oh, it's so complicated.
And there are new offers and deals coming out all the time. So if you want to simplify the process a little bit and take advantage of someone with expertise, then, why not?
And cruising vacations aren't as complicated, but to make sure you're getting the best deal, you need somebody that's willing to check every day, and that's me.
Yeah, set sail with Morgan.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready to dive into the first of our stories tonight?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Okay, I have to say, the first time that I had heard of this parade was in a YouTube video from Yesterworld Media, who makes great, historical YouTube videos. Very awesome. And then there's also a lot of information online about this particular parade from the Jim Hill Media Archives. So if you're interested in a journalistic type of capturing of this parade, then that's a great resource as well if you want to know some more of the ins or outs. But it's a fascinating story and one that I don't think a lot of people have heard unless you've been on super nerd quarters of the internet like me. So, hey, I figured I'd share the story with you of a Disney project that is the rare instance of Disney theme park developments where it was a total failure.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Kind of a rare thing for Disney to do, especially with the time and resources poured in that were for this project. But it does happen, so it's interesting to see and maybe appreciate some, parades that managed to escape its problems. And we've got some familiar characters in here as well to look forward to that come up every time we discuss Disney history. Like Mickey and Michael Eisner, they're both here.
I knew you were gonna say something like that.
Well, he is. He's in all of
Yeah.
them for some reason. Okay. You ready to begin way before we begin, like we always do? It's
Yes.
1972.
Oh my gosh.
And
We're jumping so far back.
well, that's okay. It's just the Main Street Electrical Parade beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're both covering replacements of this parade. But the thing itself started in 1972, and when it started, it was mostly flat floats with the electric lights all around them. But in 1977, it got like a big retooling that made the floats three-dimensional, and it became even more popular. So it became a mainstay until all the way until the 90s. And in the 90s, Disneyland had added Fantasmic as a nighttime.
They started a nighttime parade so early.
Yeah, super early into the history of
Yeah.
the
I know you
parks.
guys don't want to hear me rant about how we don't have one now, but I'm really upset.
Kind of sad, isn't it?
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm upset. All right, go on.
It's a core memory for a lot of us
Yeah,
to watch a nighttime
yeah.
parade.
I just love lights.
Yeah, who doesn't? They're magical.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this was a super success, and in the 90s they introduced Fantasmic to Disneyland, which was like more nighttime entertainment. That was received super well, and everybody loved the music, and everybody loved the show, so they figured they had some nighttime home runs, and they wanted to expand that even more. Can you imagine so much nighttime entertainment at the same time?
I know.
Us at Walt Disney World, we're like, how? It doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, in the 90s, when Fantasmic had become a hit, Imagineers were envisioning a concept to overhaul Tomorrowland into something called Tomorrowland 2055, which was like a chrome, sleek, industrial inspired like overlay.
2055.
Yeah, that's what
they knew
were.
that day would come, right?
Such is the problem with Tomorrowland. They're always picking a time that's going to come around.
Yeah.
But they were going to commit hardcore, I guess.
All right.
And that was the plan, was to like redo Tomorrowland with new like a new aesthetic and new paint and everything. They've done this a couple times with Tomorrowland. Anyway,
did they wind up doing that and calling it that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get to why actually. So a big part of the retheme was they were going to have a Tomorrowland specific parade.
Okay. Oh, wow.
That explained the story of Tomorrowland.
I'm trying to imagine where it would go.
Right? In Disneyland, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Past Pizza Planet, around the Astro. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Circles.
Yeah. Right. It's crazy. But this was the idea, and it was going to be called Light Keepers, and it was going to be like celestial themed with aliens and stuff. Aliens and stars. And I don't think really in the like retro futuristic way that we ended up getting aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
I think in more of a like Star Wars, like kind of serious kind of way, they were going to incorporate aliens into Tomorrowland.
Okay.
So that was going to be this like parade entertainment offering called Light Keepers. And they developed it that way for like 2.5 years. The Imagineers worked on this parade, and it was going to be like an impressive technological nighttime kind of spectacular in Tomorrowland, which is weird, right?
Yeah.
They don't do stuff like that, land-specific stuff normally. Anyway, in the 90s, Disney ended up...
Certainly not a parade, because parade route, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you need it,
It's like when...
having everybody in Tomorrowland shoved... Yeah.
It truly shows that it was a different time in the parks.
Yeah.
When it wasn't always brimming with, like, every person ever... walking down the middle of the way. Like, there used to be all kinds of, like, even in Epcot, they used to have buses that would circle the World Showcase, and they would be
now
full
you're
of
like,
characters,
where?
And you wonder, how is it possible? Actually, the answer is that Epcot didn't used to have, like, food kiosks all around the path, so it used to be wider. Yeah. Anyway, so in the 90s, Disney had hired someone called Paul Pressler. I don't know if we're familiar with him yet, but he cut all of the things that were good in life in the 90s from Disney. His like expertise was cutting the budgets.
Oh no.
So when he was appointed
He's the villain.
He's the villain. He was appointed the president of Disneyland, and he cut the first thing he cut was Tomorrowland 2055.
Well, did people dislike him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And history does not remember him.
Okay.
Well, really, anytime anyone is brought on to be the cost cutter. It's
Yeah, I was
always
gonna say
like,
this sounds like a Chapek situation.
yeah, it's like the business side winning against the creative side,
Yeah.
and people don't like to see that in
No,
Disney.
it's villain. It's villain material.
Right. With everything Disney has taught us, that's bad vibes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they had poured all this time into Lightkeeper, so instead of canceling it, they decided that was a waste of money, so they were going to retool it into a more Disney character focused nighttime parade. It
Okay.
wasn't going to be aliens anymore. It was going to be like, Mickey.
Yeah.
And Michael
Snow
Eisner.
White.
No,
Yeah.
just Mickey. Yeah, Snow White, specifically Tinkerbell. So the first time they tried to retool the parade, that project was canceled again in 1996. So they retooled it more to be about fairies and specifically Tinkerbell and her pixie friends. So now we're on the third version of this parade within Disney development.
But none of these have seen the light of day.
Right. Okay. That's the third version of the idea.
Got it.
This is not totally uncommon in the things we've talked about. There to be multiple ideas.
Yes, but for one to last for 2.5 flipping years.
I know.
That's so long.
It sounds devastating as a creative person.
Yeah.
To have your entire concept totally changed twice.
Yeah.
After 2.5 years of work. Sounds crazy. But anyway, in this more Disney-ish version of the show, the idea was that pixies, Tinkerbell and her pixie friends, were going to come to Disneyland on a magical night and wake up all the classic Disney characters and show them the magic of pixie dust at nighttime. Sounds like a fun little concept.
I like it.
So during this time, the parade changed names from Tinkerbell's Night Magic to Tinkerbell's Light Magic, and then finally arrived at the shortened name Light Magic, which is the final name of the parade.
Okay.
So that's how we got there.
Tinkerbell got scrapped.
Tinkerbell got scrapped, but she would remain the marketing icon of the parade.
Course.
She was the mascot for the whole thing. Her doing her classic wand and pixie dust kind of pose.
That makes sense. I'm sure she had lit up wings and stuff, right?
Yeah, that was the idea. And she's actually represented a few different ways in the show, which is pretty cool. But the whole idea of it was that it was supposed to be a technologically sophisticated fiber optic centered light show, which I know we would have loved because we loved fiber optic technology being all the rage in the 80s and 90s.
Uh-huh.
They're beautiful. But that was going to be the idea for this, and it was going to rely on fiber optics, and the fiber optic was going to be the pixie dust, all because it's pixie themed.
Okay.
The parade would make stops in Fantasyland and Main Street and run as a Streetmosphere style show.
Stops?
Yeah. So it's not a traditional parade. It has floats kind of like a parade, but it enters, it stops in Fantasyland, it runs for 14 minutes, and then it moves to Main Street, and then it runs for another 14 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's 2 showings.
It's shows.
Of a parade show. Very odd, right?
Very odd.
Yeah, it turned out to be a problem.
I bet.
But yeah, just in its idea itself, it's already weird. And it's already been through so many changes. No wonder it was a mess. Anyway, the show-stopping moment was going to be they were going to have Tinkerbell represented by a pyrotechnic device along a wire that was going to fly over guests' heads, and it was going to make it look like Tinkerbell was flying around, and it was going to interact with fiber optic panels that they had installed in the Main Street facade, the buildings of the Main Street facade, and in 4 or 3 towers that they had constructed near It's a Small World. They were constructed with fiber optic panels so that when the different elements of the show came near them, they could light up with fiber optic pixie dust.
So complicated.
Yeah, and a lot of money invested. So it's crazy. They also widened the sidewalk significantly
for this
in Fantasyland in front of It's a Small World, just specifically so the show could stop there. So in
Disneyland.
In Disneyland.
Okay.
Right. So think about the big It's a Small World facade,
mm-hmm.
and in front of that facade there are a couple freestanding towers that are in the theme of It's a Small World. They're white and gold, but they have, even now in the parks today, they have fiber optics panels in them because they were constructed for this.
Cool.
So after they finally figured out they were going to do light magic and it was going to have Tinkerbell, Disney gives them only a year and a half to bring the concept to life, which is pretty short in terms of parade development spans.
Is
Most
it?
of them spend
Okay.
around like 3 years of concept development.
Okay.
Or 3 years of implementation as well. So like we're talking about they're like basically rushing to scramble all of this parade together because they had decided that light magic wasn't going to be an additional offering, but it was going to replace the Main Street Electrical Parade, which is like a huge decision. And so now the show has gone from a little Tomorrowland spectacular to the replacement of the Main Street Electrical Parade, which obviously like the guests loved the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah.
It had been in the park for like nearly a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
From the
Why were they replacing it? Did they say?
I don't actually know the. Oh well, they had decided that the Main Street Electrical Parade could have done for like a more technologically sophisticated overhaul, and they were thinking about shipping the Main Street Electrical Parade to
Paris.
Paris, right? Where did it go first?
Yeah,
Paris.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know about first. Yeah.
I think it was Paris.
We wound up with it bounced around.
Yeah.
Like you can ship a parade around. It's crazy.
I know, isn't that wild? It's just in shipping containers somewhere. That's crazy.
Very crazy.
Yeah. So they're getting all these effects together and stuff. But because the timetable of getting the parade together is so short, they have to scrap a bunch of effects. So they scrap a bunch of effects on the ground, and they also scrap a pre-show that was going to explain the fact that this was a magical night where all the fairies were waking up all the kingdom people, and they're going to celebrate the fairy magic together. So all of that is cut. So now it's just Disney characters in their like bedtime costumes coming out and dancing with the pixies, but like they cut some of the context so people didn't really understand what they were looking at or why they were looking at it.
This happens a lot though. Yeah. I find a lot of times I'll learn about a backstory of something, a ride, a parade, a show, and then I will be like, nobody knows that.
Nobody knows that. Nobody knows. Like, are you thinking of Dino Land specifically? Like
right
Chester
now I am.
And Hester's
right now I am. But there's a lot of stuff like that.
I
Even
agree.
like Everest, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we knew there was something, but we didn't know it was like this insane, in a good way.
Get your flow chart and your PowerPoint presentation ready.
Yeah,
because
there's a lot of even restaurants and stuff that you don't even know. Anyway, go on.
No, it's crazy. It's totally crazy.
When I get to mine, I didn't realize there was a story.
I can't wait because I have seen Spectral Magic a bunch of times as a child. I was skimming through a YouTube video before we started to like refresh myself on it, and I was like, oh, it literally every float came back to me.
Yeah.
So like hearing that there's a story.
Did you know there's a story?
Nope. It's gonna blow my mind. I can't wait.
It's not that good of a story. Don't get too excited.
Wait, we have to talk about Michael Eisner.
Okay.
Michael Eisner really liked Riverdance. Do you remember Riverdance in the 90s?
I do.
Yeah, it was a really popular entertainment trend, and he wanted to incorporate it into the parks because that is the most Michael Eisner thing you could ever imagine. So he demanded that the choreography be infused with Riverdance.
Okay.
So that makes
Tinkerbell doing Riverdance.
Yes, it makes it so much weirder. And guests didn't like it, if you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Because Riverdance was already kind of on its way out as like a cultural moment. But here we go with the Riverdance. Anyway, so they set the debut for May 23rd, 1997, and it was advertised as the world's largest fiber optic display. Doesn't that sound cool?
Mm-hmm.
I would go.
Yeah.
Here's where the real problems start, which is May 13th when they had an annual pass holder preview event for the parade.
Okay.
When they're coming into the park, they are told this is actually not just a regular preview, but it's going to be the first dress rehearsal ever for this show. So get ready for that. And everyone is like, okay, what? And then they walk in, and then the parade is a complete disaster. Missed cues. The music and the show is out of sync. A bunch of effects don't work.
No.
It's a total mess, and it's the very first time people are seeing the parade that is going to replace the fan favorite, beloved Main Street Electrical Parade.
Luckily for them, this is pre-YouTube.
Luckily for them, I mean, there is I think there's camcorder footage of this.
I'm sure there's camcorder footage.
Yes, but people were so infuriated by the mess of a show. First of all, because they were confused because the pre-show was cut, so they didn't understand what they were looking at. And then the parade also didn't perform correctly. So everyone goes to Main Street. guest relations, and there's a line down Main Street, and people demand their money back to the point where Disney says, refund everyone.
But they're annual pass holders.
No, but they had to pay a separate $25
oh no.
to get into this preview event, and people were so upset that they paid the extra $25 and that the parade was a mess that Disney issued refunds to all of them. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Disney never issues refunds like that. I mean, unless there's like weather or whatever. Actually, they do.
They do that, actually.
Yeah, but never for like the parade sucked. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there are a bunch of
complaints. They never needed to do that in any other circumstances that I've heard of. Yeah.
That's what makes this so unusual.
Yeah.
Then the show opened officially, and guests didn't love it because, one, the river dancing and stuff was weird. They didn't understand why they were in bedtime clothes. But also, it had a problem that sometimes the nighttime shows had, which was once it stopped, unless you were right in front of the screens that were in the center of the floats, then you couldn't see any of the screens. And there are screens that play like a fairly important part in the parade, just because there are some points in the parade where what's going on the screen is really the only thing going on in the parade. So like if you couldn't see it, you just couldn't see it at all. So a lot of people were upset about that. And the river dancing, and there were the pixies were scary. So when the kids some of them have face masks with like prosthetic features that kids thought were scary. So everything was going wrong for this poor thing. And then on opening night, Tinkerbell dies in a fire. She's like, the effect is whizzing along the line, and then the effect crashes to the ground. And now the Tinkerbell effect will never work again. That was the last time the Tinkerbell effect happened.
Oh my god.
So like,
is there footage of this?
I think so.
I need to look this up.
Yeah, this is like an incredible story. But anyway,
so this, I'm sorry. I have to have you elaborate.
Hey, I don't know the answer to whatever you're about to ask, but I'm delighted to hear the question.
I think you might.
Okay.
Because I think I'm just asking you to elaborate on what you're saying.
Okay.
So I'm imagining Tinkerbell as like in Walt Disney World, where it's a human in a Tinkerbell costume on a line.
I shouldn't have said dies. So remember when I said that Tinkerbell was a pyrotechnic effect being pulled along by a cord? I mean like a device that shoots sparks.
Okay.
Not a pyrotechnic effect.
It's not even like it's not even technically like looking like Tinkerbell.
Thank God, no.
Okay.
It does not look like a person.
Okay.
That's a great question. Thanks for asking. Yeah, nobody died, but it was just like the effect flew off the rail and crashed to the ground. Nobody was hurt. Crashed to the ground, and then now the effect just doesn't work. It's not so much alike. Because it was also supposed to be, first of all, for this, it was supposed to be flying like alongside the buildings on Main Street.
Right.
And I believe that when it crashed, it didn't crash over an area where there are any guests. Because I would assume that they wouldn't let guests stand
underneath
right there
sparks.
Anyway. Right.
Okay. See, I realized when you said died that it wasn't like a human in a costume anymore. But then I thought it was probably like a little puppet or animatronic figure.
That's a safe assumption.
But it wasn't even that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was so far away.
Yeah, they do that all the time. Mm-hmm. Like in shows and stuff, they'll be like, you'll see just a little like sparkle and they're like, oh, it's Tink.
Right.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think that was the vibe.
Okay, got it.
But it was like a bunch of sparks and stuff, yeah. But anyway, it's just another thing that goes wrong for this poor show.
Okay.
And people do like the fiber optics, and they do like it has a score by Bruce Healy, who's the same guy who did the score for Fantasmic.
Oh, cool.
So it's got great music. But everything else, basically, people don't like about it. So it only lasted for 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And then...
That's like our Epcot show level.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was that show?
Oh my God. Harmonious.
But it lasted longer than that. Yeah. Like a year. This 4 months is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Disney announced they were going to retool it. They were going to fix it for 2 years, but they took it out of... they took it off of Main Street, and then it never returned. And instead, they just took their daytime parades and paraded them at night using the new lighting packages that were developed for Light Magic.
So they were able to throw that together?
Yeah. So they were basically...
Was that called something?
It was a series of a bunch of different... So the daytime parades at Disneyland at the time were very similar to like, you know how a movie would come out in the 90s and they would get a parade in Hollywood Studios?
Yep.
It was like that for Disneyland. So whatever the parade of the time was, they just took it and put it
Put lights on it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Well, not put lights on it, but they also like they had installed like those big almost like stadium lights that shine onto Main
Oh,
Street,
okay.
the same way that you can view Boo
Hmm.
to You at Magic Kingdom now during the Halloween party. They had installed some lighting like that, that made it possible for them to run a parade other than the Main Street Electrical Parade at night. So
Okay.
that's what they did.
Interesting.
They just kind of like took what they had and put it on, which I bet saved them a bunch of money. So I'm glad about that. But unfortunately, Light Magic never came back, and the fiber optic panels are still on Main Street, and it's a small world today. You can still see them, and the magnetic like stopping points on the ground are still there. There was also a problem where because it was stopping in Fantasyland first and then going to Main Street, people were trying to go around it to leave the park,
Yeah.
but then getting stuck behind it on Main Street. So it was like causing everyone to go into the shops and stuff and really congest them and like shoplifting and all that.
Oh.
So like during that time, they switched it and they made it stop on Main Street first and then end in Fantasyland. But that required them to move the floats in the middle of the park in broad daylight before the parade even started. So everyone saw the floats ahead of time before the show even began.
So there's no magic.
So there's no magic. This show was just like destined to fail.
Oh, that's
Isn't
sad.
that sad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Spectrum Magic, I think, had a much more
successful.
a better run.
Sad ending, but you'll see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't actually know very much about that. But that's Light Magic. Have you ever heard of Light Magic?
I had not heard about it until you told me about it. Until you told me you were going to research it.
4 months. I had never heard of it until I stumbled.
Now I get why I have never heard of it.
Yeah, really interesting little piece of history though to have something that flopped so spectacularly
and
like
kind of left such a big mark. I wonder, and I know you probably don't know, but I wonder if they use the panels in front of the Small World for anything else now.
Yeah, I actually don't know. Now
they might, like they do, shows and stuff.
Yes, nowadays they do project onto Main Street. They do like a Main Street projection package along with Sleeping Beauty Castle for their nighttime spectacular. I don't remember what it's called anymore. But I don't know if they use those fiber optics for that. That would be cool to like integrate them into the show.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well, right?
Yeah, you've already got them.
Yeah.
From your
so
Tomorrowland turned fiber optic display parade.
Yeah. Well, that was really interesting. I'm glad you did that. That's, sad, but
it is a little sad, huh?
I wonder if there's anything left over from it other than those.
That was the only things that I could find. Maybe they saved some of the stuff for the archives, but they don't tend to remember their flops very much.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes they would reuse stuff though.
Yeah, that's always a cool thing.
Yeah.
When they reuse a float or a puppet or something.
Right, and you see it come back.
Yeah.
Should I pop into mine?
Yes, I would love to hear about this.
So, as I'm sure you figured out, I did Spectrum Magic as my research topic this week. This was also a replacement for the Main Street Electrical Parade. It was originally supposed to be called Electro Magic. I don't know why it changed. And it was a 20-minute nighttime parade, and it did continuously move. So it's interesting that at the same time on two different coasts, we've got two totally different things going, because I feel like Spectrum Magic is very similar to the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah, definitely a reincarnation.
Yes, it's got the same kind of vibes. It moves in the same way. It's lit up in the same way. It's just had some technological advances.
Yes.
So this was presented in Magic Kingdom in Disney World. It was introduced in 1991 as part of the park's 20th anniversary celebration.
Aww.
Yeah.
Baby Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. And it went until there were a few breaks that it had.
Right.
So it replaced the Main Street Electrical Parade, and it went until 99, and then it took a break from 1999 until 2001. And that's because during that time they had the Disneyland version of the Main Street Electrical Parade as part of the Millennium Celebration.
Walt Disney World did. Okay.
Yes. So weird. Like they both had their own electrical parade.
From when to when?
99 to 2001.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That is so strange.
Yes, they had their own. They took Disneyland's as part of this celebration thing.
I do like when they do that, though. So
I do too.
Cool. That's cool.
It's just like we were saying earlier, like the shipping around of parade is wild.
Doesn't that sound crazy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to be on the freeway next to
a snail.
Yeah.
A totally illuminated snail. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. And I mean, and then to get to Paris, you know, they had to take a plane or whatever. I don't even get a passport.
Know. Yeah.
But anyway, so they did the Disneyland version of the Main Street Electrical Parade as part of the Millennium Celebration, yes. And then the Spectro Magic came back on October 2nd, 2001.
Okay.
But when it came back, it had a few like updates.
Okay.
So that was a pretty long span. You know what I mean? We're talking 1991 till 2001. So the changes are that Sebastian and Jiminy Cricket, that were originally puppets, are now animatronics.
Yeah.
The conductor of the Silly Symphony section changed from Roger Rabbit, who was, you know, Michael Eisner's big...
breaking my heart. To what?
To the genie.
Oh,
it was a good...
I remember the genie.
Yeah, that's the one you would remember.
I don't remember Roger Rabbit.
Right.
I didn't even know he was ever part of it.
Yeah, Roger Rabbit had a bunch of, like, random, like... show moments because Disney didn't have as much in their catalog, you know? So of course it got changed to the genie. The Spectromen changed from being creepy masked men.
Okay.
Which that was this version's creepy element, like with these like, they were masks, but they kind of had a porcelain look to them.
Okay, spooky.
Changed to face characters, also creepy.
Oh,
with like white face makeup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And light up hat.
Gotcha.
And then on June 5th, 2010, they took another break, right? So then they did another 10 years, and they took another break. Then we got the Disneyland Main Street Electrical Parade again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it shipped to in that 10 years.
I was not around for
Apparently, it wasn't there at Disneyland, right?
Well, we don't know. Might have brought it back. Yeah, we don't know.
The Main Street Electrical Parade was supposed to be there just for a few months. I'm sure for another celebration, but that kept getting extended. Then in 2011, should I tell you the end now?
It's up to you.
I'm gonna wait.
Okay.
So I'm gonna jump on. So the main song in Spectro Magic is called On This Magic Night. And you know it. I'm just saying, like, even if you haven't seen it, you know it. It's in a whole bunch of stuff. Like, it comes up in Disney stuff all the time.
I definitely recognized it, but I did see the show a lot. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, it I don't know. I can't really specifically tell you, but it's been in a bunch of other things too.
Yeah.
There were 600,000 lights.
Ooh.
There were 948 batteries used for these lights.
Okay.
It's not good.
Cool.
100 miles of fiber optic cable.
Nice.
As all of these were parts of this parade.
Now that was probably the biggest fiber optic display in the world.
Maybe.
Since light magic was no longer a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used 10 light colors plus white, and the lights could be changed from color to white. Even the costumes. So even the humans wearing costumes had lights on them or on their hat and stuff. Cool. And that could be changed from whatever color it was to white, and it would like do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like a shimmering effect. Love that.
Yeah. It's just fun. It's like kind of like things get painted.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most brilliant float was the carousel float, and that had 54,892 individual lights.
Whoa.
They used a military invention, which I don't know if they used this for yours. I was kind of thinking about this when you were talking about the innovations that they used, but they used a military invention called Quantex that was first used on fighter jets before becoming part of the Spectro Magic Parade. and it appears on the butterfly wings.
What
And
is it?
if you look at it, it looks kind of like a stained glass effect of light.
Ooh,
Yeah,
cool.
on these wings.
No, I didn't run across that, but it's possible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe not though. I guess I probably would have come across that it was used for that too.
Maybe, yeah.
Unless they aren't talking about it for real.
Yeah, they put the lid on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the parade story. Okay. Here's the parade story that I don't think anybody knows.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's about the parade is about Mickey Mouse, but it's about the Spectromagic Spectromen who and they create to get Mickey and the Spectromen together create the power of Spectromagic. The Spectromen were scared to come out at night.
Okay.
Did you get any of this?
Nope.
I know, right? So they were scared to come out at night, but Mickey convinces them that they should face their fears and come out at night, and that together they can make this power. So, yeah,
Okay.
That
and is that explained? Like, do you think they did that via voiceover, or was that just like implied? Like,
I guess it was just implied.
That's so
We're
funny.
supposed to get that from I don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Maybe they came out slowly, like they were scared.
I don't remember what the Spectromen really look like, to be honest, so I don't know.
Yeah, this is all, I mean, this is like memory from childhood, and
Totally.
yeah, so I don't really remember either.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
They're
afraid to come out at night, but Mickey Mouse like lures them
out at night.
Weird.
This giant mouse, yeah.
This giant sorcerer mouse. Cool.
There were 30. That's it. That's the story. So there were 36 floats, each with a hidden driver. But they also had computers that were running the music and the light, like the synchronization and stuff.
Right, and there's work, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That helps. Nice.
Yeah. So the 6 sections I'll go through real quick. There was the opening section where apparently you're supposed to infer this whole storyline.
Right.
Right. Then there was the world of music from the Silly Symphonies. That's where it was Roger Rabbit. And now it's Genie. Not now, but yeah.
Yeah.
And there's an iconic kind of float with Chip and Dale like playing the piano.
Yeah.
There's the wonder of Sleeping Beauty's garden, which is kind of self-explanatory. Sleeping Beauty and lights. The fantasy of the Little Mermaid's ocean, which was cute. I know.
Was Ursula in that?
Yes. Ursula appeared on her own whirly units. Some of these units were called whirly units, and we see them used now where like they kind of move and twirl.
One of the most memorable aspects of the parade, in my opinion, is the Ursula whirly.
Yeah.
Because it's the perfect character choice for the technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next was the Imagination of Fantasia, which included Trinabog. And so this is a Trinabog float, which is I wanted to say dragon, but I was told that was wrong.
He's like a scary gargoyle. Yeah.
And he's got wings, and the wings can stretch out 30.5 feet at their full length. But at some points during the parade, because this is a moving parade moving through like actual streets of the Magic Kingdom, they had to bring them in a little, and then people thought that they were malfunctioning, which is an unfortunate side effect.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So sometimes they were out and sometimes they were in, depending on where you were seeing the parade.
It's crazy that they didn't design them to be like, to have a specific span, but instead, they did, obviously, but to have them be like retractable.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They probably thought it would look good, and I think it did look good, but I guess if you just saw them pulled in, you would think, oh.
They're broken.
Yeah, I guess.
Interesting. All right. Cool. I definitely remember him. He's scary. He's kind of spooky.
Since as a parade watcher, you're in one static spot, if you're only catching a spot where they're pulled in, maybe that looked too weird to seem normal.
Gotcha.
The grand finale featured the Three Little Pigs, Cinderella, a carousel that was the most like brilliant part of it, and then lastly a train that featured many favorite Disney characters.
And I remember Cinderella's like all of their costumes, but I remember like looking at the Cinderella dress and being so impressed with the fact that there are lights in the poofy shoulders of the dress, lights in the bodice, lights in the gown portion, and the peplums on the side. There are lights over every inch of these costumes. It's really impressive.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that like the spectacle of it all, if you will, was really, really amazing. I don't I don't entirely yet, until we start researching the Main Street Electrical Parade, know like the big differences, other than like this Quantex butterfly wing thing that they were doing, and then adding all of the like fiber optic and stuff like that.
Yes.
But both of these parades to me just are so like brought to life and glowing with beautiful lights and
Yes.
music and everything. I just really blown away by both of them. So this one, the Spectrum Magic, lasted really like on and off for, I mean, 20 years.
Yeah. Super long run.
Well, 91 to 2001, and then yeah, like 20 years. So
Almost as long as the first run of the Main Street Electrical Parade.
yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely like an institution.
Yes, yeah. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that after the one that you were talking about failed, that they didn't just wind up doing a version of this.
Yeah, that would have
Because
made sense,
it was
right?
such a success. Yeah.
I feel like Paint the Night is kind of like
Yeah,
that.
I do too.
It's not like it's not
It's
as
static.
Main Street Electrical
Yeah.
Parade as
Well, no,
this is.
Paint the Night's not static, right?
But it
I was
definitely
thinking
is
of the-
like it's a colorful light based
Yes.
thing. So
Yeah.
it's similar in that way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. They got there eventually.
Right. It took them forever, but yeah.
Yeah. So at the way that this story sadly ends is, so we were supposed to temporarily have the Disneyland Main Street Electrical Parade again in 2010.
At Walt Disney World?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Right.
Right. We had the Disneyland version of the Main Street Electrical Parade in 2010.
Right.
And then they were supposed to, it was only supposed to be a few months, but it kept getting extended.
Mhm.
And then there started to be rumors about there being an issue with Spectrum Magic, because we were supposed to get Spectrum Magic back into 2010.
Okay.
Then in 2011, it either at the end of 2010 or beginning of 2011, people were starting to get hope about it coming back, because there were just like sightings of the floats. Like they had the one with Chippendale playing the piano. They had it running in Epcot for a little while, like along with some other stuff.
Weird.
And yes, weird. They were like making little appearances, and then
like little celebrities.
Yes, yeah, and people were getting hopeful, but Disney wasn't saying anything. And then by 2013, then people figured out, like it became mass knowledge that Spectrum Magic floats had been destroyed because of the way that they were stored. So Disney decided while they had the Disneyland, this is crazy to me, by the way, because here's the thing.
This is sadder than mine.
Here's the thing. They were so smart about Disney World, like, and understanding that things were going to be different, that they used a completely different kind of paint to paint the rides and stuff that would hold up to the Florida sun and the Florida hurricanes.
And humidity.
Humidity.
Yeah.
They thought about all that stuff. But when they put the Spectrum Magic floats in storage, they put them in literal tents. Tents.
That is very strange.
Yes. So they wound up deteriorating because of Florida weather, to the point that they could not be recovered.
Oh no.
Apparently in like 2011, they were trying to recover them.
Restore them?
Yeah, restore them. Okay. And they did some, and that's why they wound up out and about, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
But then they got further into it, and they're like, this is too much damage.
Oh, that hurts.
So it became permanently retired.
Heartbreaking.
I know. You let them rot, like literally.
You know,
why didn't you use one of those rotting buildings to
the Wonders of Life Pavilion? Walt Disney's plane that flew over Walt Disney World, and he pointed out the window and he said, "That's the spot." You know that story?
Yeah.
That plane sat in the Hollywood Studios, MGM Studios backlot forever. It was part of the backlot floor.
Right.
And right now they have restored it to its original paint scheme, and it's parked on Disney property, and it's covered in like a tarp. And I am now utterly terrified that it's gonna rot the
Why
way
would they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it in a hangar somewhere or something.
I don't get it.
That's hard to believe that they just let the whole parade just kind of. That's terrible.
Yeah,
Poor
and you can
parade.
imagine what like a parade float with a billion, no, not billion, but like thousands of lights on it is made out
Yeah,
of. That you can't store that in a tent.
right.
Yeah,
Wow, that's hard to believe, isn't it?
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that one is more heartbreaking than mine because
it
mine was
really is
short and everyone
sad.
always hated
And well, and the thing that really gets my goat about
it.
it is that we don't have a, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
this could still be going,
Replaced by nothing.
replaced by nothing.
That is always the most frustrating, isn't it? When
Yeah.
there's not even.
And is it because you guys let them rot in tents, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they
Frustrating.
also, somewhere in the mid 2000s, or perhaps this was the 2010s, after the fire or whatever, or sorry, the fire, the corrosion happened or the deterioration, they reworked the hub and like the entire area in front of the castle.
Yeah. They
Um,
took out some trees and
they
stuff,
took out
all that,
trees.
yeah.
They added the new hub grass that we have right now. So I wonder if that like did that seal the deal? Because that was in tandem with them starting to develop like the projections shows. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I wonder if they made like the conscious decision after that was done, after they realized they couldn't save that, to say, okay, we're not going to have any more nighttime electrical parades. We're going to have projection shows and fireworks, and that's it. And that's fine because now we've like rerouted everything to work for like being able to see the castle. You know, is that if that's the full narrative of that, that is so sad.
I don't think they're the same. So I hope not, because I don't think that that's fair. Like, I don't think a night light parade is the same as a projection castle
No,
show.
it's just a different experience
It's a
altogether.
different experience. Yeah, totally. And the light parade the light parades were so much easier to see.
Yeah,
Like I know I say this a lot, but like the projection shows are hard for somebody that's short,
yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
They're probably hard for people that aren't short, like people have their kids on their backs and stuff like that. So
That's
it's
always
not
a
even like an
problem.
average height thing.
But also, most like half of the people at Disney at least are short because they're children.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
like you figure, I don't know. There should be something done about the viewing of that show. I don't know if there is like I keep saying they need to open like a rooftop viewing
Yeah.
party on top of the Main Street.
I agree, but
buildings.
I don't think that would hold much.
No, I don't think so either. It sounds expensive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like
I don't think it sounds out of realm expensive, but I just don't think it would hold very many people.
No, I mean like it sounds like they would charge a lot for the tickets.
Oh, yeah.
Like that sounds like it would be an expensive, private party situation
Mm-hmm.
or something. Yeah, maybe they need to put some risers in the hub grass.
I was
that
just thinking if they put risers up on those buildings.
They
Yeah.
only come out at nighttime.
That's what I was just thinking.
They're
On
like
top of a building.
articulated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Figured that out.
We got that one.
We need to rearrange the utilidors.
We didn't even need 2.5 years.
No. No. And we could do it ourselves. No, just kidding. Hey, honestly though, I'm glad it lasted so long. It's cool that so many people got to see it. It's like it would be such an amazing thing if Disney were to bring this back in some form.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be in this form. I mean, like the Spectrum Men to me are like not the highlight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like just but having fun Disney characters in light up costumes, like light up floats, that's amazing. Yes. And even if you're like 10 people back looking at a parade, you can see it because it's up and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
More viewable.
Right.
I see it.
Yeah. I loved the light parades. I wish we had one.
Me too. The vibe of them I still catch a feeling of in some places. In Fantasmic, when all of the individual little flotillas for Belle and the Beast and Sleeping Beauty and her prince, is it Sleeping Beauty? I don't remember. When those are happening, when the 90s Renaissance movies are coming out on their own little floats and they're all covered with fiber optics and lights, that reminds me of Spectra Magic. Yeah. And even, like, I think because we would watch Spectra Magic and then immediately leave, the electric water pageant, which is something that happens in
I
the
know.
Seven Seas
I
Lagoon.
know. Yeah.
That to me is just part of Spectrum Magic
Yeah.
in my brain. So
Right.
like when I see those things, I remember Spectrum Magic.
Yeah.
You know?
And honestly, that water pageant thing is probably a little bit more aligned with the Main Street Electrical Parade because it's
Yes.
that old and
flat.
Yeah.
Like the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Right.
Was.
And
yeah.
they're like, we don't need to update this. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And,
it's like
and
a
that's
relic
fine.
Yeah, because it's like charming.
Yes. And honestly, if they brought something like that too, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't, yeah.
Any kind of nighttime parade would be appreciated. We'll take whatever you've got in storage, hopefully not rotted and corroded.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think the future of light parade type stuff, although this is more like a nighttime spectacular, is the drone stuff.
Yeah, I
see that they're doing that in the Disney International parks.
Yeah, Paris. They've got a great drone.
Well, that will be something that we can see even if we're short.
Yes,
you're
that's
not
true.
Short, but like me and children.
Yeah, well, you'll be on my shoulders. Yeah. Did you see there's a new drone show coming to Disney Springs?
I think you told me, or somebody told me that there was, but that's as much as I know about it.
All right. Well, maybe we'll see it and let you know if we like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hey, that's gonna be about it for parades this week. If you've enjoyed this episode, thank you so much for listening. We would love it if you would subscribe to the show, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be awesome to have you around. And also, if you want to check us out on social media, you can find us on Instagram or TikTok at Neverland Navco, where we post like Disney food stuff, Disney history stuff, all kinds of stuff, trivia, anything you can imagine Disney related. You can all find it on the Neverland Navco Instagram and TikTok accounts.
Yeah, and we have an Etsy store called Neverland Navigation where we can make shirts, sweatshirts, dish towels, anything like that. So if you are thinking about buying yourself a shirt or buying a gift, just send us a message. Tell us what your favorite past or present rides, attractions,
nighttime parades
are. Yeah, and we'll send you some design ideas. I've got a lot of like vintage poster designs and stuff like that make really good shirts.
They do high quality soft t-shirts. Yeah. I think that's gonna just about do it. Right? Yeah. So
that's it.
Until our next parade time, we'll see you
on our next adventure.
Bye.
Bye.